Hey, ambitious dentist, welcome to Start Your Dental Practice, the show for existing and aspiring dentists to take your dental practice to the highest possible level. I'm your host, Jonathan Van Horn, CPA and ABV, founder of dentistmetrics.com. In every episode, we aim to demystify the how to start a dental practice problem by bringing on world-class dentists, influencers, and consultants in the dental industry to pick their brain about how to get past the barriers involved from going from no practice to being a practice owner to owning your own successful dental practice. A strong marketing strategy is essential to get more patients in the door, and you know that, but unfortunately, with so many options out there, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed and stuck. Maybe you can relate. So instead of mastering the basics, you jump from one marketing strategy to the next, and not surprisingly, you might not see the results you were looking for. So as most SYDP listeners know, the dental industry does have a few bad apples that ruins things for everyone. Trust can be a little hard to come by. Now, there's no magic pill to get 1,000 new patients in your door next week, and there's no SEO strategy that will get you on the first page of Google today. So a good marketing strategy requires relentless testing, patience, and a little bit of good luck, which is why I'm so excited to share my conversation with Laura Maly and Michael Anderson, founders of the Wonderist Agency, an agency that focuses exclusively on serving the dental community. Several practice owners and SYDP listeners have emailed me to praise the Wonderist Agency's work. And so I think you'll find our conversation on the state of dental marketing surprisingly refreshing, and you'll walk away with several actionable insights, such as the key metrics you should track consistently for your practice, how to avoid the temptation of shiny object syndrome, why the one-size-fits-all marketing plan can hurt you and what to do instead, 3 bad marketing habits you should avoid, and how to stop being overwhelmed with your marketing efforts. And so at the end of the episode, you'll find out where you can get Laura and Michael's exclusive bonus, the top 10 ways to get new patients PDF. So be sure to listen all the way through this entire interview to get access to that. Now, here's my interview with Laura and Michael from the Wonderist Agency. Hello, ambitious dentists. Today, I have with us someone that keeps coming up on my radar. They are out in San Diego. They are a creative agency for dentists. This is the Wonderist Agency. We have with us Laura Maly and Michael Anderson. And I got to say, I'm really excited about today because we chatted some prior to this interview, and we have a lot of the same concepts. We have a lot of the same missions in dentistry and being in the industry. And I'll be honest, I've gotten some really strong referrals for these guys. They understand what works, what doesn't work as far as marketing goes. They don't, have the magic bullet that they're selling that so many people sell in this industry, which is really refreshing. And they're just really fun people to talk to. So Laura and Michael, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, so if someone isn't familiar with the Wonderist Agency, fill everybody in with how you got into the dental industry and what it is you guys do.
Yeah, so Wonderist Agency is a full-service marketing agency, and we really were built around kind of 2 core concepts. One, right off the bat, when we first started 5 years ago, we really heard a lot of frustration from dentists. They were, having to manage 5 different companies, your website company, your SEO company, someone that does your direct mail, often some other company that, you're paying and you don't even know what they're doing. And making that all work together, we heard over and over again was frustrating and not effective. And so, we really operate under a philosophy of bringing everything in-house under one roof because it one, makes it more effective. You have a unified strategy and a unified way of tracking things. But 2, you also really are able to emphasize the things that work and cut the fat. Things that don't work, you can move away from quickly. So by letting us, look at something holistically, we can actually track things in a way that ultimately looks at the bottom line. The second thing that we really were founded on is making sure that we brought sort of a fresh, modern approach to dental marketing. And we feel that so many of the other dental marketing companies that kind of predated us took an old school approach. It's mailers, it's templated design, it's stock images. You see grandma and grandpa sitting in a field smiling. over and over again. And so we're very much about celebrating the people in the offices that we work with in a way that is in keeping with the cool new restaurants that are opening up, the barbershop down the street. I mean, you're a local business, you should be treated in the exact same way that other cool local businesses are being treated as well.
Very, very. If I was in church, I'd be saying amen right now. So, guys, so tell us how you got into the dental industry. It's always a super interesting story to me. Whenever, because I'm obviously a weird guy. I'm a CPA that ended up in the dental industry, and I've gone on for 60 some odd hours on a podcast talking to people about dentistry. So, like, how did you guys get into the dental industry, and what was your background before starting the Wonderist Agency?
Sure. So Wonderist Agency was founded 5 years ago-ish, and I at the time was placing local media for Fortune 500 companies. That is my experience prior to this, so I kind of had an interesting insight into local markets all over the U.S. And I had a buddy who was a dentist, graduated from Marquette Dental School, called me and he said, I'm opening this practice, and I signed this big marketing contract with one of our now competitors, and he said, can you look at it? I think I made a mistake. And I said, sure, send it over. He sent it to me. I looked at it and I kind of did one of these like, ugh, all right, we'll figure this out. And so we salvaged the rest of the contract and I took it over. And thus Wonderist Agency was born. And kind of like Michael said, I guess for me, it's kind of been a love at first dentistry. I really love it. And it's a hard thing to describe if you are not a dentist or a hygienist, but I just feel very passionately about the industry as a whole. I love working with dentists. I love working with small business. I love tech. And so it's been a really fun industry to be in. And my uncle is also a dentist, so it's always been on my mind. And I have been a patient of more the orthodontist as a child, but I have been in and out of dental and orthodontic offices my entire life. So that's kind of how I was born. And then Michael joined, and it's been a powerhouse ever since.
Yep.
So, and what was your background, Michael?
Yeah, so my background is really in the tech startup space, specifically medical tech startups. So for me, I've always really liked, one, figuring out how to scale, and then two, looking at sort of digital lead optimization and tracking. So I think, really one of the big things that we've worked together on is taking sort of that emphasis on data that startups have in the tech startup space, and bringing it to dental marketing and saying, listen, if we're spending marketing dollars, how do we do it in a way that is trackable so we can start to get an ROI? Now, when you deal with brick and mortar businesses, it's not this perfect loop that you have with e-commerce sites. Man, that'd be awesome. I wish it was, and anyone that tells you that it is selling you something. But we still want data. We still want to kind of get as close as we can to saying what's working and what's not. And so that's really been, aside from sort of some of the digital development and design aspects of our company, one of my main focuses.
Yeah, and just a story for you listeners out there. One of the people that referred me to Laura and Michael, he actually referred me because of mailers, and I talked to Laura and Michael, and I said, he's really, really happy with your mailer services, and they were just like, yeah, that's what works in his market, so that's what we do. Even though we have all these backgrounds of working for Fortune 500 companies and tech startups and all these other things, they're incredibly digitally inclined. Yet they didn't go that route with that guy. They knew that would be an uphill battle, or they knew it wouldn't be as effective as what is really, really working for this guy. And that mentality is something that is not super common in this industry. There's a lot of people that are like only mailers, or only SEO, or only websites, or only A, B, C, D, F, G, or only online reviews, only all these other things that occur, only phone calls, only scheduling, only automated marketing funnels. And so that was one of the reasons I was okay, I got to get these guys on to talk to us about this, because as far as like your professional backgrounds, in dentistry, like you said, it's so there's so many old school things going on that, with things such as like what I was saying before, is people, there's people that say this is all that works until it doesn't work. And you guys have this other mentality of, okay, let's figure out what's going to work and do it from a real marketing standpoint of, we're going to, always be testing and always be trying to find the next best thing. So from the lessons you've got from your past experiences working with much bigger businesses, what what is a way for a dental practice to be able to even figure out how to know their market, or their whatever demographic industry area that they're in for their practices?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe just to echo a little bit of what you just said, I mean, I think the first thing is just recognizing that there are markets, and that sounds like such an easy thing to accept. But again, we have conversation after conversation where someone will put it to us and say, hey, I was on Dental Town and I saw this one guy who's just killing it with Facebook ads, and like, why is that not working for me? Or I've got a bunch of buddies on the East Coast that are sending out mailers left and right, and it's working for them. And then I talk to all my buddies that are in Arizona, and they can't get it to work at all. And the reality is that we have these sort of microclimates, these little areas that change it, and that's within. You can't even look at it from a state standpoint. You may have a city metro area, and outside of that, it's if you get into the rural suburban area, it's going to be totally different. So I know that may sound like kind of a general insight, but it's something that a lot of dentists miss. And so for us, when we come into it, we know that what we do as marketers is not going to work every time. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And so that's where tracking is really the first thing that you have to do. And so for us, if we're marketers and this is our full-time job and we know what we're going to do doesn't work every time, as a dentist, if you're going to really be at the helm of your marketing, which I think is great, I think that's what a lot of practices do, you need to track results. And so for us, the key thing that it starts with is really what is your practice management tool. Hopefully everybody has a practice management tool. If you don't, go get one.
Do you mean patient or practice?
Practice management tool. So yeah, right.
We just had a guy that was acquiring one that had a pegboard system, which was like not even a computer. So yeah.
But I think that it's amazing how many times we start a relationship with clients, and one of the things we ask for right away is we want your new patient numbers, by referral source, days open, production, collect. I mean, we want to look at your business metrics, because if we're spending marketing dollars, we should see it relate to your business metrics. And it really needs to start there. So, I mean, for me, the key things are make sure that you have someone on your team that is comfortable pulling reports. And two, and this is the thing that really does get missed, really instill from an early point with your team the importance of actually getting that referral source correct. It's amazing how many times we start a relationship and 30 to 40% of new patients coming in have a blank referral source, or we get into this bad habit of just, you know what, they didn't write it down, insurance, or they didn't write it down, it's a referral. And that really starts to obscure the marketing spend that you're making, because you don't know what's working. So I think that's really kind of one of the first things that we want to look at. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the digital side of how we track?
What do you mean?
As far as like just agency analytics.
Oh, well, we use a tool that is pretty amazing, I think. Usually at the end of the month, you have to go into 7 or 8 different little portals and pull all your reports and then shuffle your papers together and send them to the client. The client has no idea what they're looking at. It's really confusing. And you have to say, now open this PDF and go to page 2, and now open this PDF and go to page 3. And we have a tool that is unbelievable. It pulls every data source we have into one portal that the clients have 24/7 access to, that they can look and see with their own 2 eyes what we're doing on a monthly basis, what results we're garnering for them, and are they better than the month before, and are they better than the month before that, and how are we looking for next month?
Right.
And that is such peace of mind in an industry where we continually hear from our clients that, like, we worked with these guys for 7 months, but we never even saw a report. We never even heard from them, and I didn't know if it was working or not, and I waited too long.
So, if you are doing any type of marketing, whether it's on your own or with a company, I think outside of looking at your business numbers, the other big thing that you need to be doing is you need to be doing call tracking. So what this does is it really lets you attribute leads to the money you're spending. So we get a lot of questions about call tracking. So just briefly, I'll kind of go in and maybe answer some of the big ones that we get. There's a lot of good services out there. We personally use CallRail. Absolutely happy to recommend it. Call tracking metrics is really another big one. That's one that we've used, another good program. But really what they do, they let you sign up for a low cost, and you're able to create call tracking numbers. Now, one of the big things is they do have a local area code in it. A local area code. So that way it's not a 1-800, it doesn't look cheesy.
You can use that if you want to, but we don't do that.
Yeah, right. For local businesses, we don't do that. But you know, everybody always asks, well, am I gonna have to set up new stuff in my office? Is this a new technology investment? Not at all. It really works as a relay. So you create a new number, and it helps direct to the existing number that you have. And what you can do is you can create these different numbers for different marketing channels. So for example, if you're sending out a direct mail piece, please never send a direct mail piece out without having a call tracking number on it, because you want to know how many phone calls come from that piece. Now, of course, someone may get that piece, they may Google you, and they may call through the website or through Yelp or somewhere else. It's not perfect, but it gives you some idea of what kind of call volume you're getting. Similarly, and this is where we get the most questions, you can install a little script on your website. You probably won't want to do this, but your website company can help you with it, and that will help actually change the phone number when people come based on where they come from, Google, Yelp, Facebook, and so you can start to actually see what sources digitally people come from to help determine where your marketing investment is best spent.
So start out with, marketing is a function of the whole business life cycle, right? So being a part of that and actually going out there and trying to spend money to create phone calls. You've got to be able to track it. Like you said, some great resources, CallRail. What was the other one you said outside of CallRail?
Tracking metrics. Yep.
Yeah. Really good things. Here is where, and the reason I'm saying I'm pulling my experiences with it is because I know there's probably other people out there that are going to be saying this. I'll ask people to start tracking these things, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that I can understand completely why that's an issue," because I call this the $10 million mistake. And the reason is because we had a client that was, they were a $4 million a year collections practice. And then 3-4 years later after that, they were down to $2 million a year. And we were looking at their numbers, and we noticed that their new patient numbers had gone from 200 a month down to 40 a month.
Sure.
And we said, where were those 200 new patients coming from, 3 or 4 years ago? And they had no clue where they were coming from.
Right.
None whatsoever, no data, nothing. They just had to say, I don't know, because they said, I think referrals. It was like, well, what happened that all of a sudden you lost, 150 new patients a month to the point where you're at 50 now? You've got to have more empirical data on be able to do this. And so, take a $2 million a year mistake over a 5-year period, and that's a $10 million mistake of not tracking this information. And this is one of those things that you can't go back in time and fix. You got to start today. The issue that my docs seem to have is whenever they get into the process of doing this, they, either the person in the front office is the person who can't figure out how to do it. They don't know to ask the questions, or they put it on a form and there's 10 options, and the patient doesn't know what options it's coming from. So whenever they put in the referral source, they don't know how to put it in through there or whatever. So basically what I'm saying is that I have a lot of really smart listeners out there, and I'm sure you've dealt with this before. Being in this industry, we're lucky enough to talk to people that are incredibly intellectual all the time. And so a lot of the times I find that people start really overcomplicating this. Mm-hmm. They instead of just doing it, they try and do it perfectly. Is there a very low barrier to entry thing that someone could do just to get started with this, to get it going? Because some people, I know, one question I've got is, if I'm going to set up call tracking, do I do that now, or do I do that, wait until I'm about to do a marketing campaign? I've had some people say, I've told the person on the front to start keeping up with this information, or making sure, because we're asking for it, but she's not putting it into the software the right way. Right. And what are some, I'm sure you probably had similar issues with clients you spoke to in the past about that. What do you guys recommend for those people out there? Because I know I've got somebody listening right now that's going, yeah, that's the reason I've not done it either.
Yeah, I think absolutely positively start call tracking today. There's no reason why not, and the cost is not prohibitive. And you are getting calls from the internet. In theory, you are getting calls from the internet likely on a daily basis, and it sure as heck would be nice to know where they're coming from. And so I think for sure, start right away. It is not cost prohibitive. Set that up. And then the second part of that question is talking to your front desk. And we can lead the horses to water, but we can't make them drink. And seeing the value of a strong front desk is something that I don't think doctors see as quickly as we often hope that they do. And so we can make the phone ring, but if your front desk can't convert and deal with patients in a way that can schedule them and show them the value quickly of coming into the office, then that's a whole other conversation. But I think if you do in fact have people and you want to start today, the two things that I recommend are, one, when the new patient calls, ask in that phone conversation how they heard about you and write it down right away. The second is when they come in the door, get the secondary confirmation by adding it to your intake forms. And then the third is if they don't fill out either of those, just stand up over the desk and say, hey, I forgot to ask you, how did you hear about us? And they're going to say online, and you're going to be like, oh, well, that's a vast universe online. You know, not that sarcastically, obviously, but oh, was it Yelp? Was it Google? And then hopefully you can pry them for a hair more information. But it's so imperative to understanding what works, is getting both that double opt-in, as we would say. We get the phone call to confirm, but then we also get the front desk information to confirm.
I would add to that that we found that a lot of clients that we work with will, they are interested in the marketing side of what's happening. They will make the decision to reach out to a marketing company, and they understand the reasons behind that. It's amazing how many times we'll call into the office and we'll say, hey, we're your marketing company, and the front desk doesn't know that we exist. And so for me, it's not important they know we exist, but it's important that you share the marketing campaigns you're investing in and really relay the importance of saying, hey, we're doing this. We're doing it for a set period of time. We want to know if it's going to work. And you are really the best chance we have to do that. So, for example, let's say that you're investing in Yelp ads. If you do that, you're going to say, well, man, if someone says they found you online, we want to know, did that come from Yelp? Because that's what we're putting money into right now. So I think really connecting that with the front desk and making sure that they feel part of maybe that business decision is another thing that can really help motivate them to go the extra mile and really get down to that level of data that you need.
And we also have, and I think the other two things I'll add is, one, that's a 60-second conversation in your morning huddle to get the team up to speed on what your marketing efforts are. And then the other is, we also have some clients, and this is not for everybody, that bonus out new patients. So every time front desk books a new patient, they may get a $2 to $5 bonus. And so you could say, hey, listen, I'll do this bonus system with you, but I got to know where this came from.
Makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about, getting started with actually tracking these things and starting to figure out, where your current new patient flow is coming from. Because, in any business, pushing slight edges is how you really start snowballing things. So if you, for example, are in an area where, like, you see that let's say you get 40 new patients a month and 25% of them are coming from Yelp. Is that how you would start saying, okay, this is our area of opportunity that we need to just go out there and crush this area and be all over this because people in our area are looking at it? Is that how you kind of start knowing your market or your microclimate, as you guys have put it before?
Yes, I think the other thing that's important is to look at a 30-day production, and I call this the Groupon effect. And I'm happy to pick on Groupon because I think we've seen a lot of bad campaigns come from it. So, for example, if you just look at new patient numbers, and let's say you run a Groupon campaign, you're going to see your new patient numbers go up. What you're probably not going to see is you're not going to see a very good 30-day production associated with that. And you're also not going to see a long-term sort of reoccurring patient coming back from that. And so, I think quality is still important. But yes, combining sort of a quality score with an increase in new patients coming from the referral sources that we're investing in is absolutely probably the first and best way to validate a marketing spend in that area.
And then I think the other thing I was going to say is, if you are getting 40 new patients a month and 40% of them are coming from Yelp, then you say, okay, how do I blow out Yelp as best I can until I start to see the increase come back down again, right, and the ROI starts to go,
the cost
starts to go back. Sorry,
right.
A little slow in the uptake this morning. And then the other thing I was going to say is, okay, now we know that Yelp is working well, it's driving new patients. What are Yelp-like areas in which we could blow this out? Maybe we look at Nextdoor, maybe we look at Facebook, maybe we look at upping the number of reviews we have on Google. So what can we do to sort of duplicate that in other areas?
Right.
We wouldn't just say, oh, let's do direct mail now. We have to find what works and then,
Right.
grow that.
Makes a lot of sense. So in, more competitive areas, I mean, how does someone figure out what's going to work for them if there's already a lot of people marketing in their areas? What's a good way for them to be able to figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't want to paint this picture that, there's really, you should take a one-channel approach. And I would actually go back to, the client that referred us to you. We actually do have a very successful digital campaign going for him as well. Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that we've succeeded as well as we have in growing his new practice is that, we're not just looking at one channel. But for me, what's more important is quickly identifying channels that don't work. I cannot tell you how many times we've started a conversation and someone says, man, I've been in a contract with, YP.com for 10 years and I cut this much money and I don't, I think it's working. Or, we've got a grocery cart ad going right now that we've had for 3 years. And, people come in and they say, oh yeah, I saw you in the grocery cart, but there's no great way to really determine whether it's had an impact on your business. Those are the moments that, we as marketers say, listen, we've got to find some way to measure success. And if we're not doing that, then we're just cutting a check and we're hoping. So I think in more competitive markets, the answer remains the same. It just is more work. And I think that's often where, agencies like us come into play, because a lot of times doctors don't have the time to go back and say, okay, I'm investing in search engine optimization. I'm investing in AdWords. I'm investing in social media ads. And I've got, a mailer or, every door direct mail going right now. Even if you have, and this is one of the other things we have, we'll have people that have a very high marketing IQ and they're like, yeah, I've got a call tracking number. I'm doing all this stuff. I haven't looked at it. I don't listen to those calls. I don't know what's happening. And so that often for me, when we're in more competitive markets and you've got your marketing a little bit more developed, oftentimes time becomes the big enemy. And it's just, everybody's got their life outside of work, and all of a sudden listening to a bunch of phone calls and going in and really evaluating your marketing metrics isn't the priority. So I think it just takes discipline, and it ultimately takes time to go back and see the insights for what they are.
And catchy messaging.
Well, right. But I mean, as far as evaluation, yeah.
So does the Wonderist Agency, do you guys do this for people, or do you teach people how to do it themselves to be their own, chief marketing officers?
Yeah, we're full service, and so what we've found is that at the end of the day, really people come to us because they hit a point where they say, "Listen, I've been doing this, or I know I need to do this, but I don't have the time," and so
I don't know how,
and so it's something that we really take on. We're pretty much turnkey. We make sure, and again, one of the other things that you hear all the time is, "Hey, I've got this marketing company I haven't talked to in a year." We have a monthly phone call that we do where we look at the dashboard, we send a printed summary of where the campaign's at and what we're doing, just so you know where things are at. And I guess the takeaway for that is, if you are working with marketing companies, that should be your expectation. Don't feel like you should be confused by the reports you're getting. This is something that you can break down really easy. It's the same as dentistry, right? If you walk into the dentist's office and someone sits down and they start getting into the very specific details of what they're going to do, patients are going to get lost. They don't need to know that. They need to know, is my tooth color going to match? Is this going to hurt? Can I go home and eat the same foods that I'm used to eating? What does it mean for me? And that's, at the end of the day, the questions that marketing agencies should be answering for you on a marketing level.
I find that that's so hard to get from a lot of marketing companies, because there's a lot of because again, it's the age-old question or age-old problem in dentistry that the docs are hopefully are in the back doing the work, actually hands wet or fingers wet, working in people's mouths trying to produce money. And if they're really, really successful, typically that means that they're pretty busy and they don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. It's a physically demanding job. I mean, I couldn't do it like all day long. That would be it. Plus do all the things we're talking about right now, of the creative side of things. I know a lot of dentists are pretty creative and artistic in their own ways, but this is a lot of this, plus the management side of managing the employees and the track and all that. It's really complicated. And, one thing that I've seen in this industry is that there's got to be touch points. There's got to be points where you come in and this is actually managed in some way. And a lot of people seem to not do that in this industry anymore. So I think that's really refreshing. That's something that you guys do, is have that monthly call, because that's a way to, you know, keep the doctor in the loop, as well as, you know, help keep you guys accountable and all the things that go along with it.
It's a local business. We need to know what's going on in the local business. I mean, it comes back to being able to check on the numbers and saying, hey, listen, you know, we agreed to drop a mailer that's focused on, you know, celebrating the investment you made in same-day crowns. You got this new CEREC mill. We want to let people know, are you seeing people call? And so we want to have those conversations. Otherwise, we're out of the loop and we're just marketing on a high level and not really getting to market the business itself.
So what are some of the other issues? So, you know, obviously, you know, based off of the discussion so far, you know, not knowing where your patients are coming from, not tracking your phone calls, not listening to your phone calls from the patients that are calling in, using, you know, the special numbers, specific call tracking numbers. What are some other mistakes that people are making in this industry when it comes to marketing that you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit out at my pet peeve right off the bat here. So if there's anything that you guys take away from today, it's take a little extra time to put a face on your business. The number one mistake that I see dental practices making is they rely on stock images. So when we start talking to them as marketers, we say, okay, well, you know, can you send us some photos so we can design a mailer, so we can build your website, so we can, you know, create a social presence online for you that fits, that communicates about you. And it's amazing how years have gone by and there is nothing that's reflective of the practice. So for me, throw the stock images of, you know, grandma and grandpa sitting in the field smiling out, and whether it's a mailer or whether it's your homepage or whether it's, you know, social media or the ads you've got in a local newspaper, go back and relook at that. And it should have a picture of you and your team. The number one thing that we really like to do is we say, hey, listen, on a Friday or a Thursday, when you're wrapping up, take that last hour, clean the space up. That means make it look like it's going to, if you're going to try to sell it. Maybe take the hand sanitizer, put it under the sink. You know, let's make these tabletops really clear. And then get a friend or family member to come in and walk them through a new patient appointment. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to go out and pay a couple $1,000s for a photographer to come in. Those photos will be great. If you have that in your budget, do it. But if you don't wait for 2 years until you finally convince yourself to do it. Get someone to take out an iPhone or a smartphone. The key thing is make sure it's horizontal. Don't do the portrait mode, go horizontal. And walk someone through that new patient appointment. And what I love about this is you get that candid interaction. It's really what people are looking for when they're researching a dentist. So that's the number one thing. If you want to go the extra mile, video, you can do a great job with video. One of my pro tips here is there's a lot of good apps out there. I really like one called Majesto. It edits the video for you. So if you go and you take, let's say, 10 video clips in your office or more, you can literally just click those video clips and it will edit a really professional looking video for you. Google Photo has another version of this. That's a free version. Majesto is a paid app, but I think it's only like $5 or something. But there's a bunch out there. Seriously, look at those before you feel trapped into spending thousands of dollars to a videographer or photographer, and start there with your marketing, putting a face to your practice.
And something is always better than nothing.
Yep.
Just do it, as opposed to waiting for the perfect time to do it. Otherwise, you're never going to do it.
If you look at the marketing material that we put forward, the websites we have, one of the reasons they stand out, I think, in the industry is because we're focused on the practices, the people, and the patients, with permission, of course, that make up that community.
And that's. Everyone harps about the dangers of corporate dentistry, and like that exact messaging that you're talking about there is what sets the local dentist apart from the corporate practices.
Yep. That
it puts the brand in there. It makes it a local business that people want to know the people that are involved with it. So I think that's a fantastic tip. Laura, that was Michael's pet peeve. Laura, do you have any that you have?
What? Oh, my pet peeve is probably reviews. Doctors who want more new patients but have zero web presence and zero reviews across the internet. So we recommend, you can do it a couple ways. You can get a product. We love this product called Podium. Bob Summers at 5-Star Reviews also has a nice product that help clients generate reviews via email or help dentists generate reviews via email or text message. I like that. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, just have somebody when there's a patient comes into your office and they have a good experience and it's clear to you they've had a good experience, or perhaps you know them well enough that you feel like you can surpass a boundary. Say, hey, you know what, Ellen, I think you like us as much as we like you. Do you mind doing me a favor? We're working really hard to get some more Google reviews. I see that you have a Gmail. Could you write a review about us when you get home today? That'd be wonderful. And a lot of times, if you ask, people will do it. You just have to ask. And so whether that is you as the dentist, or that is your office manager, your front desk, your insurance, we see offices that have different methods of rolling out a review asking program, and everybody works well, but everybody works different. So find where it works in your practice and plug it in. And I think, making sure that you establish a connection as opposed to just send the email 24 hours after the appointment is what is the primary thing you have to do in that scenario.
Yeah, I got to jump in and add to that. And I think Laura's spot on. The funny thing about reviews is, we've got so many great dentists that we work with. And a lot of times, they'll express frustration like, yeah, I only have 1 Google review or 2 Yelp reviews. And it 100% comes down to asking. And I think one of the things that has happened because of the patient management tools out there, everybody feels like they're asking. They're like, oh yeah, I'm using Lighthouse, and it sends an automated email out. Well, you know what? We all get that automated email after we go to our barber, after we go out to dinner, and we all know where it goes. And so that's where, for me, just to reemphasize what Laura's saying, you have to ask. You have to. If it doesn't happen in the office, if you don't have a personal connection with someone to say, hey, we're a small business. It means a lot to us if you're willing to leave us a review. Thank you for doing that. That creates a little accountability loop for someone. And the reason that we recommend, Podium or 5-Star Review over what you're probably currently using, which is, your patient management tool, is that they really create an extra suite of tools that let you right in that moment send a request to someone. And the key thing for me is that it happens on the phone. If it happens on the phone, how many people delete text messages before they read them? I don't think that happens. I think everybody reads text messages. And the cool thing is, when you're on your phone, you probably have the Yelp app, you probably have the Facebook app, and half of people have Google phones. They have Android phones. So it makes it really easy to leave these reviews as opposed to being on your computer, getting an email, clicking a link, starting to fill out a survey, then going to Google, I don't remember my password, this is too much, I'm not gonna do it. So that really changes the game. We've seen practices go from getting like 1 review a year to getting 5, 10+ reviews a month using this strategy. And so, if you think about it, at the end of the day, practices, everybody I think recognizes that referrals are the best way to get new patients. If you can get someone to talk to their neighbor, that's the best way to get a new patient.
And the cheapest.
Similarly, digital referrals, which are, for me, Yelp, Facebook, Google+, that's something you should be investing in. That's a great place for you to start your marketing campaign. If you're not looking to spend a lot of money right now, start there. I think that's a really good place to focus.
We have a gentleman who has started in the 4th quarter, was kind of looking at doing more reviews. He maybe had 5 or 6, and he's closing in on 100 right now on Google, which is fabulous.
And like you said, I mean, this like the value inherent in those. And I was talking, every point you just made was so spot on. We just talked to I was just talking to someone the other day, and online reviews, and people on the podcast have heard me talk about this before, but like the web presence and the online reviews are only going to get more important as time goes on.
Yep.
Like, they're not going to get any less important, and the more you have now, the better set up for you in the future to not have to worry about getting more then, because it's not like it's a zero-sum game of if someone leaves you a review, they don't leave someone else a review, but the person with the most reviews is probably going to end up winning over the longest stretch of time. So if you don't get started now, then you're really going to be missing out. And guys, just so for the listeners out there, I mean, just from an unbiased standpoint, from someone who's not a marketer, but I speak to a lot of people about what's working in the practices from a marketing standpoint, and I'm seeing a much higher frequency of people saying that new patients are coming in because they've seen online reviews. It seems like it's just getting more frequent, like a much higher frequency volume rate of people saying that this is affecting things, even from like 2 years ago comparatively. And I don't know if that's because of if Google knows that's a good thing to be able to highlight good businesses, or if that is because people are just becoming more and more dependent on reviews of social proof rather than using like Yellow Pages or looking at the mailers. I mean, I know, like, I have to send out an email to my clients to say, guys, don't throw everything in your mail away today, because you might be getting some tax return documents in the next couple of weeks, because it's the beginning of the year. Because I know, like me personally, like, you know, I walk in and like, if it's unless it's something that I know I'm waiting on, it basically goes in the trash. Maybe like a Christmas card or something like that. I'll keep that. But, you know, the frequency in which we were being sold to is getting so much higher that people are just tuning them out so much more. And so anyway, so I think that online reviews are a great way for somebody to be able to quickly say, oh, this looks like it's a nice practice. A lot of people like it, yada, yada, yada. So, so yeah, I completely agree with all that you said so far. So we've talked about the you know, some of the main issues, your two big pet peeves and practices. What else do you have that we haven't discussed that's a good actionable content for someone to be able to take in their practice today, to be able to move their practice forward from a marketing standpoint?
Sure. I think, and again, just going back to the basics, have a plan. And everybody's at a different place. Some people are going to spend 5-10% of their production on marketing. They're really going to invest in growth. Other people are going to look at that and say, I've only got a couple $1,000 to spend in a year. Make sure you have a plan, and make sure you have kind of a target goal for that. I think that is really something that a lot of times people don't do. They'll just kind of make decisions as they come. And I think setting a goal and sort of setting a little plan together is really helpful for that. I would really say, make sure you're doing the easy stuff first. So for example, social media, just like reviews, it's increasingly becoming more important. I know there's a lot of people listening right now that are like, why does no one's going to go on Facebook and care about their dentist? People don't want to meet their dentist on Facebook. That's not what it exists for. Absolutely. But there are ways to engage, and there are ways to sort of build that initial foundation. I think for us, it starts with, just go check the boxes. Go claim your Facebook page if you haven't. Claim a Google business listing. Make sure you've verified that. If for everyone that's starting a new practice, make sure that you verify your Google business listing. And then that extends to claiming Twitter, claiming Yelp. It's just something that you need to do. Here's another big pet peeve and a pro tip. Create a spreadsheet and put your passwords in there.
I was just going to say that.
You would not believe how much time we spend as marketers chasing around trying to find passwords for these different listings. And for everyone that's like sitting out there saying, well, Twitter doesn't matter, Google doesn't matter, Facebook doesn't matter. I think everybody agrees that Google search matters. People want to show up. If you search for, dentist city name, you want to show up. And I don't want to get too technical, but there is this idea of the NAP, name, address, phone number. And it's almost like your digital calling card that search engines evaluate. And if it's not consistent, it really hurts you. It penalizes you. And so that's where, for me, you want control of these listings, these places online. Claim them so you have control, and then make sure that everything is consistent across that. So I think that's a really good early place to start. Again, focus on good content. Content matters because people want to get to know you, whether it's something that you're sending out as a postcard or something that you're writing on a website. Content matters. People actually want to get to know you. That's why they're there. They're doing research. So I think really starting with those foundation blocks is a great way to do things. The last thing that I would say, and this is kind of a fun exercise, if you're starting a practice or if you've had a practice for 10 years, I think some of the best practices that we have answer this question from a branding standpoint. If you are walking around your city and you hear someone at a coffee shop lean over and say, oh, that practice, that, insert blank here. And if you can come up with a brand that helps people answer that question, so they don't remember your name as a dentist, they don't remember your practice name, but they remember your identity, that is really where practices take off. So what you want to focus on is what is the core thing that makes us different. And I'll say that when we usually start this, we're going to hear things like our team.
We're friendly.
And it's like, okay, so now you and 40 other practices around you are kind of in the same bucket. Branch outside of that. What is the thing that really makes you unique? And I think that is something that that if you can do it, you'll see significant growth from that. It's a hard thing to do, but I would, especially if you're looking at starting practice right now, or you're just about to open your doors, answer that question, and 10 years from now, you'll be happy you did.
Very interesting. Yeah, I like that. So rather than that practice that has nice people, because compared to that practice that does not have nice people,
that practice that has Elvis in the lobby.
Yeah, we have a couple of good ones. We have the dentists that teach the dentists. We love that. Practice for the modern patient, super current and tech-driven office.
We had a really cool conversation with a dentist the other day. Actually, another company came up with this, but really interesting branding that positioned him as the most interesting dentist in the world. Kind of a similar. No, it
was purveyors of fine dentistry.
Right,
nice, yeah.
Right, but the marketing was positioned much like the Dos Equis guy, and so and he said, I've got people that talk about that all over town. They don't know me, but they know that ad, and they know our practice.
Very cool, very cool. So, one of the other questions I really like to ask, is, and some people have an answer to this, some people don't, and if you don't, that's fine. You guys are marketing people, you're not dentists. But if you guys, and I ask this because I have so many people out there that are, about to start a practice, about to acquire a practice, they're about to become practice owners. Mm-hmm. And I like to ask this question for them, and we haven't discussed this. So if you don't have an answer, that's fine. But if you were to become a practice owner tomorrow, of everything that we talked about today, what is the most important thing to you to be able to actually make that practice to grow and be more profitable?
Oh man, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, I'll lead on, then maybe you have a different
I'm
answer.
Lead out.
Oh, go for it. Absolutely.
I was going to say the thing, and it's not even marketing related. I would buy an existing practice. For me, that is, I would buy an existing practice and make changes within it. But I think having that built-in patient base and transitioning them for us is key. And for me is key. That would be key, especially from a risk standpoint as well, because I'm probably the less risky of the two of us.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting conversation, because we work with scratch practices, we work with transition practices, and I think
you see good sides of both.
Yeah, there's definitely upsides to both. But I mean, one thing I'll say for everyone that is building a scratch practice, whatever timeline you think is going to happen, even if you've adjusted it, add about 4 months to it. It's just you're going to be happier if you do, because we've seen consistently. It's just, man, it's a process. I think, and I guess I'll bring this full circle, and genuinely this is the answer for me. I would really invest in the systems of the practice to make sure that you have good visibility in the numbers. And that's not just the marketing numbers. I mean, I think it extends into overhead, into process. One of the things that we didn't talk about, and this is still, slightly marketing related, but, being able to actually give your team the ability to segment patient bases based on future treatment plans, and being able to make sure you have good recall specifically for those treatment plans. That's the level of detail that I know I would want to bring to a practice. And so, yeah, I mean, I think make sure you have a system that works for you. There, one thing we didn't mention, and it kind of lays on top of your practice management tool. It's, I think, Practice by Numbers. Really cool software that I think makes a lot of what we're talking about more accessible, because it's amazing how companies like Dentrix and even Open to some extent, they don't make it easy. I mean, it's like maybe you take that initial training course and if you don't use it every day, it's just gone. So for me, get comfortable with your numbers, live in those numbers, and yeah, I think that's probably the key to any good practice growth.
Yeah. You probably see this too. There's a lot of times where we'll get on the phone with the doctors, and the first time they're seeing their numbers for the month is when they talk to the marketing team, which is because we have it and they don't even have it. We're giving it to them and reading it to them.
The numbers are just it's no one's fault but the practice management software companies for being such bad software. Open Dentalist came a long way, but I don't see how any software company be like, oh, you know what we should do? We should make this report 50 pages long and put it into a PDF format that's not like accessible to be put in Excel or Word. Or force them to actually physically print it if they don't have like a good PDF software on their computer. This is like,
Michael.
Oh, man.
It's just they're so ingrained inside of the company. It's everyone's waiting for that fantastic software to come out. And again, Open Dental has shown that there's a market for it with their adoption rates. And even then, they're everything. Everybody can be a little bit nitpicky, especially people in our generation that grew up in the software world that knows how terrible software actually is whenever you look at bad software. So anyway, we won't continue on down that line. So guys, thanks so much for coming on today. We got a lot of really actionable advice, a lot of really good educational advice. If anyone has any questions for you or has any types of comments, what's the best way for them to be able to be in contact with you guys?
You can call us, and I am usually the one that answers the phone, and you can email me at laura.maly@wonderistagency.com, or if you want more information, you can see us at wonderistagency.com.
Fantastic. So, before we sign off, is there anything else that we didn't talk about today that you feel like is important for us to discuss?
No, we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
No,
I think we're good.
So.
Good deal. All right, fantastic. Well, guys, listeners out there, I urge you to reach out to Laura and Michael. They've been very gracious with their time. They've given a lot of value today. Reach out, say thank you, and I would appreciate it as a favor to me. So guys, thanks so much for coming on again today, and everyone, have a great day.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
A special thanks to Laura and Michael for sticking around and giving their insight to the state of dental marketing. As you heard in the episode, a good marketing strategy is all about mastering the basics and tracking everything that you do. So as a bonus for today, they've shared their free report, 10 ways to get new patients. Just doing one or two of the things in the report can make a huge difference. So to get that bonus, simply text practice to 33444. Again, that's practice to 33444, or visit startyourdentalpractice.com/bonus if you're outside of the US. You'll also receive updates on the latest episodes of Start Your Dental Practice, helpful tips for owning and running a practice, and promotional opportunities direct to your inbox. So that's it for today's episode, but that doesn't mean that the learning and implementation have to stop there. I've created a free report called The 15 Numbers That Will Make or Break Your Dental Practice. This report has been downloaded over 1,000 times by dental professionals. So if you want your free copy of this report that's going to outline what the most important numbers are in any dental practice, and it also includes how to look at your numbers, how to set goals, has a whole slew of really important information that is the culmination of all of my experience as a dental CPA, then just go to startyourdentalpractice.com/free gift. That is startyourdentalpractice.com/free gift. And so that's it for today, Ambitious Dentist. Again, I'm Jonathan Van Horn, CPA and ABV. I'll see you next week with another world-class practice owner or consultant that will help you start your very own dental practice. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the Start Your Dental Practice community. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor and go to startyourdentalpractice.com/iTunes to leave your honest feedback and review on iTunes. It's going to help me create a better experience, a better show, a better podcast for you, the ambitious dentist. Your feedback really does help, regardless if you like the show today or not. If you didn't like the show, let me know, because it's going to help me create a better show and podcast for you. Lastly, if you know of anybody that would benefit from today's episode and today's content, today's guest, please feel free to share with them on social media or through email.